nothing like it on the market. Not at this price.
It takes a rare horror film for me to walk away, boys, saying, boy, that scared me. I don't know why.
Dude, a guy kills his whole family? Doesn't that bother you?
Houses don't have memories.
I'm a skeptic about a lot of things.
This is Kathy Lutz, and I have to talk to you.
Horror movies, they're really, really fun, and that's the most important thing to remember about them.
Would you please leave that damn fire on or listen to me?
You're on that edge of serious camp all the time. And the really masterful directors just keep it right there.
Jody doesn't like George.
I will imagine that people are more horrible than they seem to be, and then I will look at something horrible and say, it's nothing, it's empty.
God damn it, this is my house!
There is a formula you can follow, and you can learn filmmaking skills as you make them.
I went into that house, and what I saw there was real. What I felt there was real. And what I heard there was real.
I think as a training ground for filmmakers, there's probably nothing better.
Find a well. It's the passage to hell. God damn it, don't sneak up on me.
I wanted to be an actor from, I think, the age of 9. And I'd seen 2 movies at that point, and I was living in a town called Sept-Îles, Quebec, in northern Quebec, far too north for television reception. And the priests showed movies in Quebec in the church basement for kids, because kids weren't allowed to go to movie theaters. And I think I'd seen Old Yeller and decided I was going to be an actress. So I just was very single-minded about it. And as I grew up, pursued various avenues and worked with the CBC in Canada and the National Film Board. And then at 18, borrowed $400 and came down to LA and stayed in a really tacky motel on Santa Monica Boulevard and somehow got the ingenue lead in a Norman Jewison movie. So I was too young to know I was lucky. I was so young that I thought, well, of course, I deserve this and I should have this. Yeah.
When I was 18, I was walking down the street, and I just got out of high school, and somebody said to me, hey, would you be interested in doing a commercial? And I said, like what? And they said, well, we need you to drive a Dodge truck in this thing. And I said, well, I don't have to talk, do I? And they said, well, as a matter of fact, you don't. We just want you to cowboy hat, drive the Dodge truck. And I said, how much? And they said, $400. So they were on. They called me back to do another Dodge commercial. And then they called me back to do a Gallo wine commercial, all of which, in the Gallo wine commercial, they said, well, we want you to be talking and have a good time and eating a lot of stuff, but we're not recording any of it because there'll be music and discussion over it. So don't worry about the talking. I said, okay, I'll do it. At that point, there was an agent there that came up to me and said, hey, you've done 3 of these gigs. If you sign with us, we could get you a bunch more. By now, on the Taft-Hartley law, I automatically was forced to go into the Screen Actors Guild. So I'd made $1,200, and it cost $600 to get in the Screen Actors Guild. So now I had this card, for my wallet. Kind of cool. And they sent me, very shortly afterwards, to meet the head of talent at Fox Studios. And I was 19 and a half. And by 10 o'clock that morning, I was under contract, which lasted 7 years. I did, I probably did 7 or 8 or maybe 12 pictures and 10 television shows in the next few years.
Gosh, what day is this?
Thursday.
I was in an apartment in New York, and my agent said, they're real interested in you for this Amityville. And I said, that's just like a kind of a cheapo horror deal. And he said, well, the book is selling like crazy, and you got to read the book. We don't have a script. You got to read the book as quick as you can. But one night I just went, okay. And I was up. I started about 7 o'clock, and it was 2 o'clock in the morning. And I'm still reading. I'm going, holy, whoa, you really? And I'm right at this particular part, I can't remember what it was, where I'm pretty tense. When my pants, which I hung on the door, fall off onto the floor. Well, I practically hit the ceiling with my head. I was up so fast. At that point, I realized how scared I was. And I thought, you know, there's something to this. This is a real grabber. This is going to be good.
Well, on a crass level, my agent, Rick Nacita, said we do one for money, one for the heart. And I'd just been in Superman. So on a superficial level, and no actor can ever divorce this from their career, but nobody talks about it, so I might as well. Huh? That seems to be my role in life. We could get my first big salary. So that was one reason to do it. And then as I got into it, I just thought it was fun.
Oh!
It became the highest grossing independent for 8 years straight before some other film finally beat it out.
I think we did visit the real house, as I remember. And there was lots of ooh, but we visited the house with a pack of press with us so that they could take pictures of it.
And you know, I mean, it's a cute little town with a lot of keyway inlets of where the ocean came in and houses are built along the ocean. Well, that's where the Amityville house was. It was on one of those keyways. It was much more condensed than the location we had in the movie, which was in Toms River, New Jersey. And I drove around the keyway to the back side, and you could see across the water, several hundred feet, the house from the backside. And everything was white with yellow shutters, except the boathouse door was flat black. that jarred me. I mean, somebody else owns the house now. That's either somebody trying to perpetuate this gizmo, or I don't know what that is. Why would anybody paint a door flat black? And then I thought, well, you know, you can't really... When the painters were there, they didn't have a boat to get on the water to paint from the water, so maybe that's it, you know? But there was always this kind of little bit of doubt.
A lot of the people who lived around it were kind of freaked out and had left the area. So whatever happened to the family believed and had some kind of impact on the community.
George is a good salesman. He could sell a lot of Fords, this guy. You know, a charmer. You had to believe him. I mean, his story was, the way he'd tell it was great. But he was such a good salesman, you realize he could be selling you sand, you know? You know, I mean, when guys are good salesmen, they'll pick up. And so there was a lot of doubt there in me. And when you would talk to the family and the kids, and I would ask them questions, they would not go, well, they'd have the answer right now, like they'd been schooled. And that was my take. So I walked away going, I don't know. I don't believe in all this stuff, but why am I not sure, you know?
I didn't buy that this really had happened, but I watched with great amusement as the studio's publicity machine went into action concocting these terrible things that were happening on our set, which weren't really.
We're being asked, is there weird stuff going on? And we're looking for stuff now, you know, because we like to tell them, oh, yeah, you wouldn't believe what happened yesterday, you know. My lunch fell off the table into my lap. Well, that happened on the last picture, okay?
I remember one press conference with the writers who really were fun and had a great twinkle in their eye, and some press guy said to me, and do you think these ghosts are real or something? And do you think the story's real was the question, and I thought, I don't know what to answer. And so I turned to the writers and I said, well, do you? And they went, we'll never tell.
You know what? Maybe you should sleep in tomorrow.
I got work to do. I don't want to be up to my ass in boxes forever.
When you have a co-star, you bounce off each other. We were from pretty different worlds.
Do you want to know the truth or the story I probably should tell?
I was very full of myself and thought I was from the hip young Hollywood, and Jim Brolin to me was from the old stodgy Hollywood.
I don't think I can tell the truth about all this, but...
My acting method of coming in and finding accidents in a scene, I think, annoyed him somewhat.
Yeah, there were tribulations.
Will you stop nagging at me?
There's kind of two approaches you can take to acting, and sometimes you can do them both at once, but one is to have really seriously planned out and execute every move ahead of time in a scene. So you figure out ahead of time what your character is thinking, what your character is doing. You know every prop intimately, so you know what you're going to do at what spot in a line. Then there's another way of acting that says be in the moment, take the accidents, play with them as you're doing the scene, and let's see what happens. And that's more the way I like to work.
Father, this is Kathy Lutz, and I have to talk to you.
Kathy, listen to what I'm telling you.
Father? Father!
In those days, I would literally make up what meant something to me. I would do long-winded, many pages of backgrounds of where they went to school and what happened. But it was all fantasy. And I'd read the book and I'd talked to George, so I'm sure a lot of that came into it. And I was always kind of a good story writer, you know. But more, I think I was translating it into what meant more to me if I was George.
Jesus, I'm sorry. You look just like that kid. You know, he was sitting right in that seat where you were when he was arrested.
You get a Paul Mazursky who will hammer into you. You don't know the end of the scene till you've played it. So throw everything out, throw out your homework, and go explore. That's his way of doing it, which I personally love. There's no right or wrong way here, but it can be very annoying to actors, and it's a clash that's been here forever in acting, to actors who really can't cope with accidents and have to know exactly what's going to happen.
I've had scripts where I will study for a month and go, I can't learn this. This is, what is it in the pattern of this dialogue that won't go in? So what I'll do is I'll drive to Bakersfield or Fresno, and I will learn one line at a time while I'm driving. It seems like this has to do with alpha state, I think. That when I'm driving and I have another thing to do, that there's something in that blocks me, that drops down and lets this information go in.
Peace to this house and all who enter here. Forgive our sins.
Peace to this house and all
And save
who
us
enter
from all illness.
Anyway, I will come back from Fresno and I will know this dialogue. Strangest thing, people hate it. They say you're going to have a horrible accident one of these days. Been doing it for 40 years, you know.
What? What's happening?
You know, I think most actors have this. It's very painful watching yourself on screen because all you see, first of all, as a young, pretty woman, all I saw were my flaws. And then as an actor, all you see is all your missed opportunities and what you did wrong and where you were too flat. And there's stuff in that performance of mine I just hate. So, but I think that's really common, where you sit there going, oh no, I should have done this, or oh, I should have done that.
And I don't know if it's when the lion supposedly bites me, but I have a scene in a chair where I go, I'm coming apart. I'm coming apart. Oh, Mother of God, I'm coming apart. I thought that was a little over the top. Good actors just go too far, but not that 16th of an inch farther, and I went too far.
Listen to me, pal. I don't like lectures, and I don't like being hassled in the men's room. I'm gonna write you a check. Either that's good enough for you, or you're gonna eat your own goddamn food.
As George Lutz went along in the picture, he became weirder and weirder, and we had to decide what that was.
I'm not going anywhere. You're the one that wanted a house. This is it, so just shut up.
In some ways, that didn't do me any good, you know. My George Lutz was charming in the beginning, and the further the picture went, the more uncharming he became.
You bastard.
Well, now do I go and play heavies because I'm uncharming, or am I a leading man for another picture? I'll tell you, I didn't work for 2 years. We had the huge hit, one of the hugest hits in history in that time, and I couldn't get another picture. So I got to ask, either I was really lousy, or that character people just could not put together.
Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me.
Who are you singing to, Princess?
You scared her. She went out the window.
Well, I better check.
I do remember Stuart Rosenberg decided I wasn't appropriately frightened. And so there would be these scenes where there's a pig at the window. And Stuart wasn't getting enough of a reaction, and for some reason, I don't know why he felt this, he got this day-glow orange stuffed velour pig with glass eyes, and when I wasn't screaming loudly enough, he'd crouch behind the window, and as I came in for my close-up, he'd bring it up and go, which of course made me laugh hysterically. I couldn't, he did it all the time.
What I saw was not a cat.
It was all pretty funny.
I remember Stuart being free with us by saying, you know, how, you know, I mean, some directors will actually say, I want you to pick up, you know, the soap or the glass on this line and then move over to that mark, and they'll mark you off. And you come in after their lighting or actually at the first rehearsal, and they've already got marked out for you, you know. And other directors say, let me see what you guys brought in, you know. I mean, if the director is a watermelon and he wants you all to be watermelons, that's one kind of movie. But if he loves the fact that you're a pear and you're an orange and you're an apple, and let's see how you interrelate because you're from completely different gene pools, to me that's what makes movies great, you know.
I remember tromping through muck and ooze and having blood all over us and being very cold. You want to do your blood and ooze shots on warmer days, right? Cold ooze running down your legs, very unattractive feeling. I remember that, and I remember Rod actually subjecting himself to having the flies crawl over his face. My first thought was it's manure, but no, it was sugar. They had sugar all over his face, or honey or something. Well, Rod was in a very funny phase of his life. Oh, I got to know him later and became very fond of him.
I happened to check into the murders, and I checked into the 20-year-old boy who killed his parents and his 4 brothers and sisters. And when he was at trial, he testified that he heard voices in the house. He heard voices in the house, and the voices told him to do it. Now, I was in the house, and I heard the voices, too.
Now, he was one of the people who believed this stuff was real, I think. And he really was into the bad things that could happen. And he was really, you know, his sense of commitment to a character was extreme.
I see. We're just going to walk away from it. Well, has that become the fashion now, to cover up?
I was being actually quite naughty in not fully committing to the notion that this was all true. I really should have, had I been doing my work in a more serious vein, I suppose. I don't know.
What's going on? You all gone mad? George!
In the picture, you know, supposedly George looked a lot like DeFeo. And the face that came up out of the earth and looked back at you was that, I'm not sure myself whether was that DeFeo or was that an Indian, but it was my face. And the way they wanted to shoot it, they couldn't just double me and superimpose me. I said, you know, my brother looks very, very much like me, and if you put the beard on, it'd be very, very similar. So my brother was called away from his work to double me, at which he ended up loving, you know. I mean, we had a lot of laughs.
Horror movie buffs really are very savvy audiences. The studios never give them credit for really knowing the deal. They know it's not real, they know it's a movie. Many of them are the most articulate film buffs on the planet, and they want to get scared and have fun. Much like a thrill ride at Disneyland where you're shrieking in fear, but afterwards you just laugh and go, oh my God, that was so much fun. Audiences know that that's what they're going to get. They're going to get a ride. They're there for the thrill ride.
I don't know what the Amityville Horror, the book just was so well crafted that it got me, and the picture was not far behind it, obviously.
There are no pretensions as to Amityville Horror being a deep psychological drama, I don't think.
But as we know from our experience, books always seem to get us a little more than a movie does, you know.
Don't forget, movies are fun. That's the point. Yeah.
We make the best movies in our head, you know.